This is J.G. Hertzler. You're listening to NX 7062 Podcast.
Welcome. You are listening to the NX 7062 Podcast. I am your host, Stephanie K. Thank you so much for joining me on what is a very cold, blustery, and rainy night here in Jersey. You know, I've said this a couple times, just in passing. I'm not sure if I've ever said it here before, but whenever it seems like we get like these amazing, unseasonably warm days here, they're always miserable and rainy. Like, we never get both. It's either temperate, regular temperatures and sunny, or 70s and rainy. And in fact, for the next hour, we are actually on a watch for warning. We have a thunderstorm warning. So I debated actually coming to you from my desk or from my laptop computer just in case, but I figured, what the hell? Let's all take that risk together and hang out on my hang out in the usual studio and just kind of take our chances together and see what happens. So here we are. It's raining and miserable, but I am happy to be with all of you all here tonight to talk about so many different things. Just so many different things. Like, let's see. I am going to Chicago. I mentioned this on last week's show, and now I am free to say that one of the reasons that I'm going to Chicago is because Lambda Quadrant is going to Chicago. I'm so excited. We're going to have a booth, and we're working on some other things. Hey, Robert, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. So Lambda Quadrant has a booth coming up in Chicago, which I am really excited about because I love working the booth. Get to meet so many cool people when you're working in a booth and just kind of letting everybody come to you. And we're working on some other stuff. As soon as I'm allowed to talk about more than just our booth, I absolutely will. But I'm just really excited to have a reason to go to Chicago. I'm also very excited that their guest list seems to be growing. It's kind of all happening at once. I hope people that were holding out aren't going to get slammed too much with ridiculous ticket prices to get there. But I just know that the hotels by the convention center are filling up if they haven't already. So if you are planning a last minute trip to Chicago, you can see me there, and I hope to see you. So, all right, what else is going on? Let's see, what else do I feel like talking about? Is there anything I feel like talking about before we jump into Discovery? I know Star Trek lost an actress from the very original, from The Cage. It was, some people were sending out RIPs, and you know what? And I'm terrible, and I was doing so much to get ready for the show tonight, and I had so much else going on today. Can't remember her name, and of course, now that I need it, all my friends that mentioned her, all of that shit is nowhere on my Facebook feed that I can find it quickly. So, yeah. So maybe I'll try and find that and post it on my socials later. But let's jump right into it. This is, as we all know, the 7th Rule and now Shuttle Pod After Party. So hopefully everybody from the 7th Rule will be joining us in a few minutes, and we are definitely going to talk about the Shuttle Pod show coming up very, very soon. But let's talk about Discovery. We've got 2 treks now. We've got Discovery, which I'm sure is just kind of getting ready to wrap up its season. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we've got 2 Star Treks now. We got Discovery and Picard. I did go to the Picard viewing party. That was last Wednesday. So just like they did with the Discovery viewing party, got 2 for the price of 1. But we're only going to be talking about what everybody else got to see, which was the first episode. Because I don't want to go into spoilers for the second episode. That's just not fair. So Disco, that was Rosetta. Thank you, Robert. Laurel Goodwin. Thank you. She was the crew member on the Enterprise in The Cage, the one that the Telosians thought was sturdy and would be good for breeding purposes, if I remember correctly. Something about her being stubborn. I don't remember. I thought she was the one that they said was good for breeding purposes. What is it, Podcat, besides the fact you're about to put a hole in my t-shirt? Yes, do not declaw your cats. If anybody's wondering why don't ever declaw your cats. I'm just saying. because this is my PSA for the night. Just because, like you might have just seen, Kal-El had his podcat had his claw in my shirt. When you declaw your cats, they actually remove the first bone in their toe to keep the, obviously that's where the claws come from. So it is actually mutilation to declaw your cats. So do not ever declaw your cats. You can trim their nails, you can get them scratching posts, you can do so many other things to hopefully try and keep them from destroying your furniture. But if you take too much pride in your furniture and you worry about pet destruction, don't get a cat if you're going to declaw it. That is my PSA for the evening. Oh, and also, in honor of Bob Barker, spray and neuter. Okay, so disco this week. The episode was called Rosetta, which, of course, whenever I hear Rosetta Stone, hey, Faith, happy Monday. Oh, yay, you woke up just in time to hang out with us, and now you're going to be wide awake for the entire time. So I'm so glad that you're here, Faith. Thanks so much for popping in. So Rosetta, I always think of the Rosetta Stone like the online language training course that they offer, learn a language in like 2 days, blah, blah, blah. But the Rosetta Stone is actually, it's based on the code. They actually explain this in Discovery, which I thought was really cool because I never really knew what the Rosetta Stone was. And it was basically, it helped decrypt Egyptian hieroglyphics so that they could be translated. And that was the perfect title for this episode, because if you're going to make first contact with a new species, especially some you have absolutely no idea who or what they may be, you want to look for cultural context, and you want to try and understand them, and obviously kind of getting a grasp on their language. But they got more than they bargained for. The crew of Discovery when they took the shuttle down to the planet, and they were. I mean, the entire time I thought, what kind of psychic bond is this? Is this like some sort of weird memory thing from the actual remains of the 10 Seas? But it was actually the dust. I thought that was really kind of interesting, that this dust kind of carried the memory of the emotions of all of these creatures, and it put it in this context for them. I love that episode. I love how they're trying to really make the 10C different. Exactly. They're trying to make them different. They're giving us that cultural context where you learn that there are certain things that are universal, like those feelings of peace, the feelings of love, the feelings of fear, that there is going to be a commonality. You're going to find that jumping off point. Of course, they mentioned later in the episode, it's like, yay, we're going to be able to relate to them. If they have fear and they have love, then they have empathy. And if we explain to them, and they live through the destruction of their planet. So maybe if we explain to them that they're destroying other planets, then, maybe they'll start to care. But the point was raised, maybe they already know and they don't care. Because, if you want to look at feelings as commonality, as if there are certain universal truths that come with specific emotions, that sentient beings are all capable of basic emotions, then self-preservation has to be one of them. And they may be empathetic, but by the same token, if you turn around and you tell them, well, you're destroying other worlds, and they have to choose between these other worlds where they know nobody or themselves, then you're right. They absolutely may not care. They may be like, yeah, we know, but you know what? We're powerful. We're able to do this. We're really sorry, but we need this to rebuild our society, and we just don't care. So it's going to be really interesting to see which side of the coin this falls on when they try and make this first contact. The other thing I love is book, and the cat right now is sitting on my notes. Come on, move your butt. Thank you. Tarka just completely blew it, I think, with book. Book, don't go that way. You're going to knock the green screen down. Maybe both. That would be interesting. Maybe both. We don't care. We do care, but we don't care. That's entirely possible. Book, Tarka blew the trust when he decimated the DNA the first time, when Book was willing to wait. Um, there's that level of trust that was completely blown, because I feel, because when he was talking to Nadoya, when Book was talking to Nadoya about, listen, I agree with you. We there's a lot at stake here. Our worlds are at stake. So let's look at, where we have to draw the line when the first contact doesn't work, and we have to take that extra step and think about what we're going to do if first contact fails. But I think Book is starting to realize that that Tarka is just too emotionally invested in going home, that he can't trust him anymore. And I think that's also one of the reasons why he brought Natoya into this discussion. And it did not help that Tarka kidnapped Jet, which I did not see coming. I think it's great. First of all, yay, Jet Reno. Second of all, her conversation with Adira about making friends was great, because I think we've all been there, where there's somebody that we really, really like, especially, especially if you've ever been to a convention and there's somebody that you really like an actor or somebody that you're just really nervous about talking about or talking to. So this translates in so many levels in the real world. How do you start that conversation? You just start it. Just don't start off by saying things like, I want to be you, which I thought was really funny. But just start off with a simple, hi, how are you? And try and relate. Everybody's human. Everybody responds to a simple hello, and you just kind of, take it from there and see where it goes. And if you're lucky, then that's the great spark for a friendship. And Adira did. They took that step, and it was amazing. Because when you get to sit down and talk to somebody that you really admire, and you find out, you know what, I really do. I admire you so much. But by the same token, we're both just two beings existing in this space. And I would just like to get to know you better. Yeah, see, there you go. I thought that was a great scene. I thought it was very sweet. It seems like everybody is doing the relationship thing, because you have Adira, doing the thing with Detmer. You've got Saru and Tarina actually going for a little walk together. It's so cute. After Saru felt like he put his foot in his mouth, expressing his feelings, thinking he was never coming back and never going to see her again. And then she's on the ship, and you're just like, oh. But I love how she's making it very easy for him. Like, she understands. I think she understood how embarrassed he was and how he felt like he put his foot in his mouth, and everything. And she's just kind of taking the lead, like, it's okay. As a Vulcan, this is how she's going to be able to reciprocate to him. Now, we don't know, in these 900 years and with everything else going on, and the fact that the Vulcans are kind of, reintegrating with the Romulans, maybe the Vulcans are letting their emotional guards down a little more. And maybe there's going to be more to the Vulcan sexuality than just punk bar every 7 years. That would be really interesting to see, too. So, yeah, I think that there's, as we're kind of winding down to the end of Discovery, and I think it's great that we're finally, like I said before, there were complaints that with the ship being sentient, that a lot of, like, the bridge crew just kind of seemed to be there, but they're finally, it took them, 10 episodes, but we're finally getting some more interactions from the bridge crew. We're finally hearing them speak. Linus had a couple of scenes. They're finally, coming around. I think it should have taken less time than this, but at least we're finally getting something with people other than Book and Michael and Saru, and we're finally getting a little more insight into some of these characters that we're seeing more, because I feel like we definitely got to know the crews on the other ship by now. I think we had a better sense of the other characters and not just, the core group. Because we all know that every Star Trek had its core group, from all the way back from the Spock, Kirk, McCoy. Every ship had its core group, but they always gave you episodes with the other characters. You always got to know everybody else on the bridge crew. You always got a really good sense of the other people on the bridge, and I feel like that's really been lacking. And the fact that they have a sentient ship now hasn't helped. So I'm hoping, the other interesting thing about this one is, and I've been thinking about this, and I meant to mention this earlier, Discovery has been very story arc oriented. There's always that one thread that's connecting the entire season. And regardless of whether you like the thread or not, so many people criticized Enterprise's third season. They only did it for one season, and they got so much shit for it. That whole Xindi arc. People hated the Xindi arc. There were some really decent... First of all, there were some really decent standalone episodes in the third season of Enterprise. But now, you know what? Discovery has taken this... It's like every season, and nobody's complaining now. But the other thing is that they've made it very clear that Strange New Worlds is going to be episodic and not... Actually, I like the Xindi arc. I thought the Xindi was a really good third season. I do think sentient ship is an interesting concept, but it has been the least interesting thing that happened this year. Yeah, because I think we all saw it coming, because don't forget, Calypso, the Star Trek short trek from a couple years ago kind of hinted at this. So the fact that the ship found its sentience, was just kind of a duh moment, because we all kind of knew it was happening. I liked the Xindi. I thought the Xindi was a really interesting arc. It was very reflective, and let's not forget, that's the other thing, it was very reflective of the time, because Star Trek premiered in 2001, right on the heels of 9/11. They premiered a couple weeks later. So by the third year, that was the whole point of the Xindi arc, was addressing it. And I liked the character development. I liked the morality questions it raised with Archer. The entire time you watched him change, which I really liked. I liked, because he was so wonderfully optimistic for like those first two seasons. And even at the beginning of the third season, when they're like, well, you need the Makos because you need military, but Starfleet's not military. Even in the beginning of the third season, but then you kind of watched that hope get eroded. Oh, that's entirely positive. Maybe, yeah, some PTSD about that. Some feelings about that. That's entirely possible. That's a very fair point. But I liked, to watch Archer. I like to watch Archer change. I liked, all that, not all of his optimism got chipped away, but a lot of it did. And watching him make those, Solimitude was a moral quagmire. Stealing that ship's warp core, because they needed it more. I mean, because then you wonder, well, did he tell the Xindi that he stole that warp core? Did he tell them where they were so that the Xindi could go back and help them, maybe, so that they weren't going to be stranded for 3 years in space, or however long they were going to be stranded without it? The ends justifying the means. I liked all of that. Because those were all thinkers. Solimitude was great. I mean, it was sad and it was creepy the way it started. But those were all just really interesting episodes. I just thought it was funny, with how blasted Enterprise got. That Discovery, not only have they done it, but they've done it every season. There's always been that one story arc that goes through the entire season. I mean, it works. Don't get me wrong. It works. For the most part, I think the Red Angel for me got a little old, and very confusing with the Spock and the seeing and the this and the that. But sometimes too much time travel gets a very wibbly wobbly for me, timey wimey for me, and I just kind of crosses my eyes, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So that's. Oh, also, I do want to say that IMDb, and I don't know. Okay, first of all, IMDb is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like Wikipedia, in that the information that it gets is input by the people that use it, by the people that have, okay. I actually tried to build a Wikipedia page once for a country music singer I was working with, and it didn't work, because they kept denying her because she wasn't famous enough, which I thought at the time was interesting, but you got a lot of experience learning how to build a Wikipedia page. So if anybody ever needs a Wikipedia page built, let me know. But IMDb is the same way. It's built by its users. So I don't know who keeps dropping the ball on this and who's gotten so lazy. But when I was trying to, because I suck with names, I was trying to get Nadoya's name so that I could talk about her and her conversations with Book. And I went into IMDb and I clicked that little show all cast and crew for the episode. And it didn't get past the bridge crew. And I'm thinking, who the heck isn't filling out the IMDb information? Because it literally could be somebody associated with Paramount who is in charge of doing the IMDb pages for the episodes. The actors themselves can actually attach themselves to the show. They shouldn't have to. This should really be somebody's job. And if there's an opening at Paramount, I'm right there. I have an IMDb Pro account. I could totally do it. But anyway, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I mean, I did go to StarTrek.com, which is where I should have gone in the first place, but I do like my IMDb because you get the fun little trivia stuff that you do. All right, so I think we can move on from Disco to Shuttlepod Show. I decided to put Shuttlepod Show right in the middle. Okay, let's see. Hey, Faith. Wonder that myself. Tried to look up who played the Borg Queen, and it's not on there yet. Yeah, I was wondering that myself. I was kind of hoping they did get Alice Krieg back, but obviously they didn't. But that is an excellent question, and who knows? Who knows so far? It might be on StarTrek.com. Do what I did. Go to StarTrek.com, see if they've introduced that actress. So, Shuttlepod Show. Watched it yesterday with a nice cup of hot chocolate because it was raining and miserable here. And Vaughn Armstrong was Connor and Dominic's very special guest. And he had there are things about, I mean, I know Vaughn is Admiral Forrest. I've never really, and I know that he beat out Jeff Combs for most characters and most shows through the franchise. I mean, Jeff is just below him, but Vaughn beat him. But the one thing I did not know is that A, Vaughn played other characters on Enterprise, and B, that not only did Vaughn play a Klingon on TNG, but when they got Bob O'Reilly and J.G. Hertzler to do their Klingons, they asked them to study Vaughn's Klingon portrayal to get an idea of what they were looking for their Klingons. So I thought that was really kind of cool. Faith. I think it's Anna Mershing, but I'm disappointed because that is all the bad in all the shows lately. There you go. So I thought that was a bit of interesting trivia. I also did not realize that Vaughn played one of the, I want to say crustaceans, and that's wrong. Cretelians. The aliens that get offended. A Night in Sick Bay. The aliens where Porthos peed on the tree, and then he picked up the parasite, and everybody was offended, and Archer had to do that whole repentance thing. Vaughn was one of those aliens. And he told about how, Connor and Dominic, they would walk right by him. He'd be like, "Hi, it's Vaughn," because he was just, immersed in that makeup. And he and Dominic had a little bit of bonding because Dominic had to do a Suliban for the couple of scenes in Detained, the episode Detained, where Archer and Mayweather, that was the Dean Stockwell episode where Archer and Mayweather accidentally wandered into some space they shouldn't have, and they ended up in a Suliban detention camp. So let's see what else. The couple of things, one really cool thing is that if you've never heard the Enterprise Blues Band, they play a track called Red Shirt Blues on the show. It's excellent. The Enterprise Blues Band has 3 CDs out, which are always available at the end of the Rat Pack performances in Vegas. I have all 3. They're all awesome. It's Vaughn Armstrong, Casey Biggs, and a couple other people that are not part of the Rat Pack. This predates Vaughn and the Rat Pack. And hello, Lasso! I know you were doing your Comagories thing, so thank you as always for popping by. I actually had the pleasure. Lasso actually went live a couple times last week, so So we're actually kind of, chilling out with each other, doing live things. If you're interested in comic books, if you love Wonder Woman, which who doesn't, don't forget to subscribe to Magic Lasso's YouTube channel. He does some amazing things with comic books, and he knows of which he speaks when it comes to comics. So please feel free to check him out. Go like and subscribe, Magic Lasso. The one thing, thanks for stopping by my lads last week. Of course, Lasso, you're here just about every week unless you're doing your own thing somewhere on the YouTubes. So it's the least I could do, especially when you send me personal invitations. When you text me personal invitations and tell me you're going live, how can I not show up? So the other thing, there were a couple disappointing things about Shuttle Pod Show. I love watching the guys. I love the stories. I love the camaraderie. I can't wait for Jeff Combs to be on there next week. But a couple of things that they missed this week. They did not play anything from the Rat Pack. They barely mentioned the Rat Pack, the Star Trek Rat Pack. And for those of you that don't know, the one thing I should have done this, and of course 2020 hindsight, Shuttle Pod Show. Please go like and subscribe them as well. And just be on the lookout for when they do guest announcements, because as followers of the show, you can tweet or email them questions. You can send them questions on any of their socials or through their website. And the question I would have liked to have asked Vaughn is the Rat Pack planning on putting together any sort of CD, maybe of just their live performances? Because I would love a Rat Pack CD. And Faith, if you hate the Xindi, if you go on YouTube and type in Star Trek Rat Pack Xindi, you will probably find their little parody song about the Xindi, and trust me, you will enjoy it, because it blasts the entire third season of Enterprise. So go find that. I highly recommend it for anybody that didn't like the third season. And even though I like the third season, I still like the song that they did. But yeah, there was little to no mention of the Rat Pack, and the Rat Pack is amazing. The Rat Pack does perform on the cruises if they get enough of the group together. And they always close out Las Vegas, because there's usually enough of them there. If there's not, in 2019, they actually had Nana Visitor as their special guest performance. Yeah, absolutely. Just like I said, Star Trek Rat Pack Xindi should pull up their performances. If that specifically doesn't work, if you can find any of their full performances in Vegas, that song's in there somewhere. It's to the tune of the Association's Windy. No, I'm not singing it. It's to the tune of the Association's Windy. So if you can't find it as a standalone, just find one of their Vegas, like a full half-hour Vegas performance, and it'll be in there somewhere. So I would have loved to have found out if they're planning on any CDs. I think Vaughn said Enterprise Blues Band is coming out, but I would love to know if the Rat Pack is coming out. There were some amazing audience questions that came in. The only thing is, and I do this when I interview, when I take your questions to Vegas with me, and I interview and I get those questions, I always say who wrote in, where I got it from, and who wrote in, and they don't do that. And I just think that it's nice to just specifically acknowledge the person that came up with the question. And I know that the fans would feel good if Erica, when she was reading the questions, just said like, "Hey, this is from NX7062 on Twitter." I haven't asked those questions. I save my interview questions for my show. But yeah, so that would be nice, if maybe they throw in a name. The other thing, and I'm doing this as sort of as a service to Vaughn, because I don't know, I haven't seen anything from the Shuttle Pod Show saying this, but there's a correction. Vaughn talked about his latest project, which is called Catch and Release. It's in post-production right now. It's a movie that he did. He rents a secluded cabin to a couple. That's pretty much what IMDb has to say about it. He rents a secluded cabin to a couple in the woods. And Mark, their producer, chimes in and says, "I know that movie. Don't they make a porno there?" And unfortunately, Mark, and trust me, I get this. There are a lot of cabin in the woods movies out there. but I know the movie that Mark was talking about because when I went to go see the new Scream movie, I saw a preview for the movie that he's talking about where it's kind of very Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of deal because it has a very 70s feel to it where, and I think it probably, my guess is it's dated for 1970s, but it's about a group of young adults in the 70s rent this space on this guy's property, and they rent the cabin or the whatever it is on his property to make a porno. But they're not the one that Vaughn's in, because the one Vaughn's in is only in post-production, so I doubt that there's a trailer out there yet. So and honestly, I was trying to find the name of that movie, but I couldn't, because don't look up, I will tell you this, do not look up horror cabin porno, because there just wasn't any site that I was comfortable clicking on. I just thought maybe, so I was cabin horror 2022, and I still didn't find what I was looking for. But whatever Vaughn's in, I will. Movie with a girl with killer makeup, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Ha ha ha. Good one, Lasso. But anyway, that's just a little bit of a correction. Vaughn's in a completely different movie that doesn't have a porno element to it. So I just figured I would throw that out there. But that's why I love doing live chats, because I've got all of you guys to correct me if I say something wrong, or if I'm mistaken about something. I got you guys, and you guys are also so hugely helpful. That's the other thing. I really wish the Shuttle Pod show would be a little more consistent with its drop times, because I literally was asleep on Sunday and 7:30 in the morning, and my phone's going off telling me that the video dropped, and I'm like, this is early for them. But listen, I love those guys to death, but at 7:30 on a Sunday morning, I'm sleeping. I'm still sleeping. So I did, like I said, it was worth it to wait. Had some stuff to do, came home, curled up, hot chocolate, boom. So that's about it for the Shuttle Pod show. So now we can talk about Picard. First episode of season 2. That's all we're going to talk about. Now, the one thing that kept running through my head as I was thinking about Picard and Discovery, and I love Discovery. Discovery is great. 900 years in the future, it's pretty cool. Loved the suits. Loved the space suits in it. Love the new ship. But Picard is more of a warm hug. Picard is like coming home, because you've got Picard and you've got 7 of 9. This year you have Guinan. Guinan showed up in the first episode. Q showed up in the first episode. This is all... Oh, that's great, Faith. So you were there. I tried to play the trivia, but they didn't pick me. And I was even wearing my Chateau Picard tank top that I got for Gallifrey 1. But still, the only thing I will say about the second episode is that Brent Spiner, you got a hint of Brent in the second episode. So basically, all 3 of the people that we're all looking forward to coming back, you got boom, boom, boom in the first 2 episodes. Not as I expected, which is what's so great about trailers that are just very kind of non sequiturs, because you think you get it, but then you don't. Let's see. Logged in on your phone, won't let you. Oh, yeah, that sucks. And you know what? The other thing too is it's great, but I always take my computer and stream it to my TV so that I can watch the episode on my TV, but then it gets stuttery. So then for the second episode, I actually just kept it on my laptop, and instead of the screen, because it kept freezing up and I kept missing things. So I didn't rewatch the first episode, but I am going to go back and rewatch the second episode, because first of all, the second episode, 2 episodes in, there was an Enterprise reference, there was a TNG reference, and then there was this whole very cool other thing that but Picard really is, I feel like Picard is really kind of like a coming home. And obviously this year is going to be really interesting. I know my friend Nikki Repass, who stands with Picard and Beverly, and Gates is not in this. Maybe we're all hoping that we find out what happens to Gates. There was hinting because Picard's Larissa, Laris. You know what? She made her feelings for him very clear, and he's obviously interested, which means, it's just his past, ghosts from the past, I guess, but nothing that's really technically keeping him from a relationship. So I don't know. I don't know when the end of the season shows up. Maybe we'll find out. But there are definitely reasons why we probably won't find out before then. Because obviously this is going to be one long story arc of a show. The visuals are stunning, as always. So far we haven't really talked about the fact that Picard isn't in a human body quite yet. And with Q, who the hell knows what's going to happen by the end? Look who's here! Hey, Mohammed. Would have been easy for that role to have been Beverly, but maybe she wasn't available. I'm going to go out on a limb and say if they'd asked Gates to come back, she would have come back. I don't know. I think maybe, and this is just me hypothesizing, but I'm just wondering if they think the time for Picard and Beverly has passed. Like they did that whole thing in All Good Things. Took me a second. There, I got it. They did the whole thing in All Good Things where they got married, but then they were divorced, and maybe they feel like TNG kind of took care of that whole relationship, and so now it's time for Picard to explore a new one. Nikki's personal theory is that Beverly died. That's her personal theory. Is Nikki Repass's personal theory is Beverly died, and that's the only reason that she and Jean-Luc are not together. And the way he was acting with Laris is maybe that's what it is. Maybe his one true love is no longer here, and he doesn't think that he is capable of loving anybody else. And then there was that conversation he had with Guinan. So who knows? Mohammed, I am so excited to have you here post-cruise. That's the other thing. You guys got to watch Picard on the boat, didn't you, Mohammed, who was on Star Trek The Cruise? Not that I'm, like, jealous or anything. I did spend an entire week kind of avoiding a lot of the cruise stuff. Picard reads like a mommy issue. Huh. That's an interesting take. But fair, considering that flashback. Very fair considering that flashback. Very fair. But yeah, Mohammed, if you're here, type quicker, because, the cruise. I did see clips of Connor and Anthony doing Connor's karaoke, because Connor can absolutely not escape karaoke wherever he goes. And listen, when you got Anthony Montgomery on stage performing with you, that's awesome. And Bob Picardo was there too. You miss Picard on the boat because I'm a lame butt who can't stay up late. Yeah, I know. We've had that conversation. Trying to get you on my show is a pain in the lame butt too. But we love you, and I'm so excited that you're here. But you know what? I think maybe I'll have to have you on the show so we can talk about the cruise. Next year, it's actually leaving out of LA. They completely changed it. It's leaving out of LA. It's doing like a love boat thing. It's doing like this love boat stops, like Puerto Vallarta and Mazatlan, and there's one other port, but all three of those ports were kind of like Princess Cruise ports from the love boat. So they're definitely doing a love boat thing. Nicole DeBoer is finally on the boat next year. So excited for her because I know she's been dying to go. And next year is the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Oh, all right. Yeah. Let's see. Pre-record a clip and play it for us. We love Dr. Yes, we all do love Dr. Mohammed Noor. I know you had some panels on the boat. I did see something really interesting. Somebody was actually complaining, and this is very fair. Somebody was complaining during the Enterprise panel, which actually did turn into a 20. I guess they were talking, kind of celebrating the 20th anniversary of Enterprise, which was supposed to happen on the 20th, which was supposed to happen last year on the 2021 cruise. That's why they had Anthony and Billingsley and Connor on this trip. And I think Chase was moderating, and somebody was complaining that some of the questions were inappropriate, blaming it on the fact that we haven't been hanging around with people for 2 years and people have lost their manners. But everybody very politely explained to this person that when you go to a John Billingsley panel, 9 times out of 10, John Billingsley is going to challenge the crowd to embarrass him. And whoever comes up with the most embarrassing question gets a prize. And I guess this year on the boat, I heard Billingsley, and I wasn't even on the boat, I heard Billingsley drop trow. He was trying to get Connor to take his pants off. I think Connor politely declined, or not. So I'll have to ask Connor when I see him next month in Chicago. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Connor, I heard rumors. Did you show your underwear at the Enterprise panel? But the challenge is to embarrass John. John's just like, go for it. And the prize for this panel is the top embarrassing question. John bought them a drink. So if you walked into that panel after that announcement and you came in and somebody was up at the podium asking a completely inappropriate question, out of context, you totally would have thought, oh my God, why are these poor people torturing the Enterprise people? But I posted, that's the only cruise thing I replied to. I said, hey, listen, I am not on the boat, but I'm here to tell you that John Billingsley says this all the time. Every panel he's on, pretty much, he asks the audience to embarrass him. I was working his panel when he was in New Jersey in 2017, and he did the exact same thing. So any of his Enterprise crewmates who are on a panel with him would know this, and I'm sure they were not embarrassed because they just know what to expect when they're on a panel with Billingsley. 2 things. Why have a moderator? Because Billingsley will 9 times out of 10 steal that spotlight as well. And 2, he will take the most embarrassing questions. I also have one of those for him, and it actually doesn't have to do with Enterprise, but I'm going to save that too if I ever get a chance to get him on the show. Or if I happen to be at a convention where I have a chance to embarrass him. I think I have a pretty good question because I'm not sure I've heard this one yet. So I'm keeping it to myself because it doesn't even have anything to do with Enterprise. But I can't believe you missed the Enterprise panel. Mohammed, what were you doing on the boat besides your own panels? That's what I want to know. But you know what? Maybe we'll find out. Maybe that's what I'll be doing next week. Having Dr. Mohammed Noor on the show. Assuming he doesn't have to get up too early, because if he's on the show by himself, he's not allowed to leave until it's all said and done. But Picard. So they're off to an amazing start. Next week, I will talk about season 2, episode 2, which I don't need to watch, but I am going to watch again because the one thing I can't do is chat during stuff like this because I need to pay really close attention. It really is. It really is. I hope when we pull out a port, we can all stand on the port side of the deck and like throw streamers like they used to do at the beginning of the Love Boat. But oh God, train of thought just derailed. But I am probably, like I said, I can't chat. So my Lambda Quadrant crew and I, we were all in our own separate little places, but we were all at the virtual screening last week, and they're all chatting on Facebook, and I'm like, you need to stop. And then my phone's making noises because I forgot to mute my phone, and then I missed a bunch of stuff because the phone kept going off because I just can't. I can't chat. Can't divide. I'm a good multitasker, but not when it comes to focusing on TV. And yeah, so I only semi heard the Enterprise reference, so I do need to go back. But it is in the first little bit of the episode, so anybody that hasn't seen it yet, Faith, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, or if you don't, we can talk about it next week. But yeah, that about wraps it up for this week. Like I said, hopefully I will have some more news about Chicago. And I've got my Chicago guy, Magic Lasso's been filling me in. He wants to send me some places to eat while I'm in Chicago. Hopefully I will have a chance to explore the city. I'm flying into O'Hare, which I know is actually miles away from the convention center. So the only little bit of Chicago I might get to see is between the ride from O'Hare to my hotel. Mohammed, are you going to be in Chicago next month? That's my big question. I can't remember if you're going or not. You've been just Star Trekking across the universe lately between the cruise and everything else going on. And I know I'm going to see you in Vegas at least in the flesh. So all of that being said, like I said, stay tuned to the Lambda Quadrant and to me, because there are going to be more announcements about Chicago coming up. Just can't tell you right now. And maybe next week we will be talking. Oh, Mohammed, I'm going to be there. There, that should have just pushed you right off to the proper side of the fence. I'm going to be there, so you need to be there. Just saying. Just saying. And don't forget, as always, I love the fact that you were here. I would not be here if you were not here to support me and hang out with me. Oh, thank you, Robert, so much. But keeping my lights on and bringing you this show every week. If you would, I would love to pick up some more patrons at patreon.com. There are thank you gifts depending on. Oh, see, there we go. Good job. You're securing your spot on the next podcast. Good for you, Robin. But I would love it. I could use the support. Patreon, you can donate as little as $1 a month. The higher you go, there's a 3-month in, you get this awesome thank you gift for me. I put together some thank you gifts. All of my tiers, I figured out how to name them after Star Trek Enterprise episodes. So that's kind of fun just to visit. So if you want to go visit Patreon, but you know what? I also understand what it's like not to, not to want to make a monthly commitment. And I appreciate that. So here's something else fun. The NX7062, the store. You can buy merch. And I know I need to wear my merch more on my show. But I've got t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, sweat jackets. I think I even put together some sweatpants. Coffee mugs. Check out the store. Support your favorite Enterprise. I don't want to say Enterprise themed because I am a Star Trek themed podcast with an absolute love of Enterprise. I am also now on Instagram. So if you guys want to go check out, give me a follow on Instagram. I'm trying to build up my following on Instagram. It's the NX7062 on Instagram. Somebody couldn't get just NX7062 for some reason. But I am all over the interwebs. Reach out. Let's be a community, not just every Monday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Because I do love talking to you guys during the week. Whenever you stop by. But until we talk face-to-face next week at 10 p.m., possibly with a guest, we shall see. Until I see you all next week, find me on the internets. And don't forget, please, as always, be safe out there and live long and prosper.
This is Nicole DeBoer, and you've been listening to the NX7062 podcast.